Namo Buddhaya. Imagine facing a painful situation, feeling utterly defeated, only to realize that it's not the pain itself, but how you respond to it that determines your suffering. What if there was a way to move through life's most challenging moments with peace and clarity? This is where the wisdom of Buddhism offers profound insight. In this video, we'll explore the teachings of the Buddha on how to navigate painful situations with a calm mind, understanding, and resilience. By the end of this video, you'll have a fresh perspective on pain and suffering that could transform your life. So, stay with us to uncover this timeless wisdom. In Buddhism, one of the core teachings revolves around pain and suffering, which are intrinsic aspects of life. The Buddha's approach is not to shy away from suffering or to deny its existence, but to face it head-on. Pain, whether physical or emotional, is a part of our human experience. Yet, how we deal with it can make a world of difference. Most of us, when faced with painful experiences, tend to feel frustrated, anxious, or even hopeless. But the Buddha offers a transformative way to approach suffering, to see it as a natural part of life and to use it as an opportunity for personal growth. The Buddha explains this concept through the metaphor of two arrows. When we experience pain, it's like being struck by an arrow. The second arrow, however, is the mental suffering we inflict upon ourselves, our worries, fears, and anxieties about the pain. While we cannot always avoid the first arrow, the second arrow, mental suffering, is something we can choose to control. Let's take a step back and think about this idea. How often do we, in our daily lives, amplify our pain through our thoughts? Imagine being caught in traffic. The frustration of being late is the first arrow. But then we start thinking, why does this always happen to me? This will ruin my entire day. These thoughts are the second arrow. In this sense, much of our suffering is self-created. The Buddha teaches us that pain is inevitable, but our suffering is optional. This message is incredibly liberating when applied to real-life situations. Whether you're going through a breakup, facing job loss, or dealing with illness, the pain is real. But the mental suffering, feeling like a victim or dwelling endlessly on the situation, is something we have control over. Many of us, when faced with pain, try to distract ourselves through external means. We turn to things like social media, alcohol, shopping, or even overeating to numb the pain. But, as the Buddha wisely points out, these distractions do not solve the underlying problem. Instead, they often lead to even more suffering. For instance, chasing after temporary pleasures to escape pain only deepens our attachment to these fleeting comforts, leaving us dissatisfied in the long run. Specific examples in everyday life. Let's explore some concrete examples. When a person feels lonely or rejected, they might binge-watch TV or scroll endlessly through social media to distract themselves from the pain. This distraction offers temporary relief, but it doesn't address the root cause. The more we avoid confronting our emotions, the more they grow in intensity. Or take the example of someone who has experienced a breakup. Instead of facing the emotional pain head-on, they might jump into a rebound relationship, thinking it will fill the void. However, this often leads to more emotional turmoil. The Buddha's teachings remind us that instead of running from pain, we should sit with it, accept it, and allow ourselves to learn from it. Only then can true healing begin. The 8 worldly conditions. The Buddha also speaks about the 8 worldly conditions, which are central to understanding how to navigate through life's highs and lows. These conditions are gain and loss, fame and disrepute, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. These 8 conditions are like 2 sides of the same coin. They are inseparable and revolve around us constantly. The key is to understand that life will always present us with both sides, and neither gain nor loss, pleasure nor pain is permanent. The more we cling to one and avoid the other, the more we suffer. Rather than becoming overly attached to praise or devastated by criticism, the Buddha teaches us to remain equanimous, to see these experiences as fleeting. When we achieve this mindset, painful situations lose their sting. We begin to realize that, like everything in life, pain is temporary. It will pass, just as pleasure does. Personal reflection on the 8 conditions. Think about how much time we spend chasing after pleasure or avoiding pain. In modern life, we are bombarded with messages telling us that happiness comes from external success, whether that's in the form of material wealth, recognition, or physical comfort. But this is a trap. The more we chase after these things, the more we suffer when we inevitably lose them. Consider the story of a successful business person who suddenly experiences a major financial loss. If their sense of identity and happiness was tied to their wealth, that loss feels devastating. But if they had embraced the Buddha's teaching, that gain and loss are both natural parts of life, they would be able to navigate that loss with greater peace. The lesson here is to detach from the highs and lows of life. Painful situations will come, and they will go. The key is not to get swept away by them. The power of choice in painful situations. One of the most empowering lessons from the Buddha's teachings is that while pain is inevitable, worrying is a choice. When we face difficult situations, we have the option to either become consumed by them or to acknowledge the pain without adding unnecessary suffering. For example, let's say you lose your job. The initial shock and fear are natural. That's the first arrow. But how you respond after that is crucial. Do you spiral into a state of panic and self-pity, or do you take a step back, assess the situation, and look for new opportunities? The choice is always yours. Final lesson and summary. In summary, the Buddha's wisdom teaches us that painful situations are an unavoidable part of life. Yet, our mental suffering is something we can control. By recognizing pain as temporary and choosing not to add layers of worry, we can navigate through life's challenges with greater peace and resilience. So, the next time you face a painful experience, remember, the pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. Life will always present us with gain and loss, praise and blame, pleasure and pain. Our task is not to avoid these experiences, but to see them for what they are: temporary moments that pass like clouds in the sky. In the end, embracing this mindset can lead to a more balanced, peaceful life, and that is a lesson worth holding on to. Closing thought. If this message resonated with you, reflect on your life and ask yourself, how much suffering do you create in your mind by resisting pain? By embracing the wisdom of Buddhism, we can all learn to let go of that resistance and find peace, even in the most painful situations.